Right, so Kevin Lee has officially signed with Khabib Nurmagomedov's Eagle FC. Let's talk about it before we do. My name is Rahul J. Chan. This is the Battle Camp. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. Right, so let's just address the facts to begin with. Kevin Lee has signed with Eagle FC on a 4-fight deal. He will be campaigning at £165. That's a weight division that he's been crying out for forever and a day. And he'll be making his debut in March, I believe, in Miami. And he'll be getting paid in Bitcoin, which is something that I find quite unique. So let's talk about that to begin with. I know nothing about cryptocurrency, so I can't comment on whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? But apparently it's something that Kevin Lee asked for, and his wish was Eagle FC's command, and he'll be getting paid in Bitcoin. The only thing that I kind of thought about when I heard that is, how does taxes work with that? Do you know what I mean? How does it work when we're talking about paying taxes if you're getting paid in Bitcoin? Because the value of Bitcoin, I believe, just fluctuates on a daily basis. But I mean, if you know the answer to that, please do feel free to comment below. I'm assuming, I don't know, man. I don't want to assume, but yeah, he's going to be getting paid in Bitcoin. Now, so rumors about Eagle FC being in the hunt for Kevin Lee's signature started about a week ago, and at that time I was a bit like, oh, that's a bit surprising. Eagle FC want to sign Kevin Lee, and my initial thoughts were, he will never go there. That doesn't make any sense. Why would he go to Eagle FC? Now, I don't know whether it's because I underestimated the financial capability of Eagle FC, or if I was overestimating what other promotions may be willing to pay Kevin Lee. But the truth lies somewhere in all of that, and we are where we are. Now, in terms of him moving to Eagle FC, why did I say it like that? I'm just going to call it Eagle. In terms of him moving to Eagle, I feel like there's a couple of positives. Now, the first one, the biggest one, and the most obvious one is the weight class, right? Now, Kevin Lee has been adamant for literally years that £165 is where we're going to be able to see the best version of Kevin Lee. Now, we can obviously see that he's too small to be fighting at welterweight, and he feels as though he's too big to be a lightweight. So he's got no excuses now, right? We should be seeing the best version of Kevin Lee when he steps into that cage in his debut for Eagle FC. The other positive from my point of view is the alternatives to the UFC. And notice how I say alternatives, because I don't feel as though I can call them competition. They don't justify being called competition, right? They're just alternatives. And the alternatives are Bellator and PFL. I feel as though if you move to Bellator, it's an obvious kind of move for someone that's been released by the UFC to go to Bellator. We've seen it happen so often. And I don't feel as though him going to fight at welterweight in Bellator would have personally generated a lot of interest. And I don't know how successful he would have been in that weight division in that organization. I don't know whether that was a big money earner. Right, same thing goes for PFL. When I was kind of thinking about Kevin Lee's new potential home, I kept kind of going back to the PFL and thinking, if he goes to the PFL, I kind of all I can see happening is him having a season that's similar to what Pettis had, what Rory McDonald had. Do you know what I mean? I could see it going that way, and I was kind of I felt as though that isn't a good move for him. So the fact that it's Eagle FC, I feel as though it's because it's so new and there's so much unknown in terms of other fighters in that division who's going to be at £165. Just the newness and the freshness of it. I feel like this move has generated more interest than if he did move to a Bellator or PFL. Now, obviously, interest doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't put money in your bank or Bitcoin in your Binance, right? I'm quite proud of myself for that one. I just thought of it now. But if you're living in Kevin Lee's world, it's important because listening to his interview with Ariel Helwani that he did yesterday, he was talking about the potential of moving into a co-promotional position with Eagle FC. They'd be open to co-promote with him, etc. Now, he did the obligatory, oh, I'm getting paid way more than I did in the UFC with Eagle FC. I'm being well looked after, etc., 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 which is good. I'm glad. I'm happy. But the red flags of Kevin Lee's past showed themselves in this very same interview. Because what I heard for 25 minutes was Kevin Lee talking about the business side of things, Kevin Lee talking about money, Kevin Lee talking about the opportunity, etc., etc., but not really much about Kevin Lee looking back at his recent performances in the octagon and looking at ways to improve, to show what he can do. In fact, he is already referring to himself as the best 165 pounder in the world. And I don't know, man. I would put it this way: when he makes his debut, and irrespective of who he's fighting, if he comes unstuck, I wouldn't be surprised. One of the things that I've said in previous videos where I've spoken about Kevin Lee is I feel like there's a lack of focus and there's a lack of commitment to trying to get better at the sport, right? And he was talking about his training kind of plan moving forward, and he was talking about how he's going to be training at Sanford MMA, but also Faraz Zahab is going to be his head coach. And if he's in Vegas, he'll train with Extreme Couture and stuff like that. It just felt like muddled up, right? And at this moment, and it might be fair, his priority just seems to be business and being the biggest commercial, or kind of being the best version of himself from a commercial standpoint, right? But that goes hand in hand in this sport. Like, the better you are in the octagon, the more you can command as a commercial commodity. Now, if all you're focusing on is the business side of things and neglecting the actual training and trying to get better, you're going to come unstuck, right? We've seen him come unstuck over his last 5 fights. He's lost 4 of them, I believe. So that kind of worries me a little bit. Going back to the co-promotional point that he was making, he was talking about Terence Crawford. I don't know who his promoter is. Anthony Joshua, I don't know who his promoter is, etc. Blah, blah, blah. And that was typical Kevin Lee, because if you follow the sport of boxing, and I'm a very casual boxing fan, but yes, I know Terence Crawford's promoter was Bob Arum, and I know Terence Crawford announced that he'll be leaving Bob Arum because his deal has expired with Bob Arum in the post-fight press conference after he beat Sean Porter. I know Anthony Joshua's promoter is Eddie Hearn. I can't remember what other boxer he named, but literally any kind of big name in the sport, you know who their promoter is. That's half of the conversation when it comes to boxing. When fans kind of speak about boxing, the only difference in boxing is there's no kind of boundaries for fighters from fighting other fighters that fight for other promotions. But MMA is totally different to that, right? Because generally speaking, fighters, once they sign to a promotional outfit, that's it. They have to fight other fighters signed to the exact same promoter. It's very rare to see cross-promotional events. The only one I can kind of think of at the moment is Bellator and Ryzen doing their shows together. But who watches those? Because I fucking don't. But I suppose the point I'm trying to make is, like, yes, you know, it's a good thing that Eagle FC are willing to kind of potentially co-promote with Kevin Lee in the future. But at the same time, who is there out there that is a big enough name for that pie to be cut in those pieces? Do you know what I mean? But time will tell, man. He's got 4 fights in this deal. And who knows, once it's 165-pound division, we get to see who's part of it, etc. There may be other fighters that are kind of coming towards the end of their deal that think, you know what, I'd love a piece of that. I'd love to fight 165 pounds. And that might be a big kind of big thing to attract fighters to, you know, Eagle FC in the future. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts about Kevin Lee joining Eagle FC. I suppose the overriding feeling and the overriding thought is I'm very interested to see how this plays out. I'll definitely be tuning in to his Eagle FC debut. I'm looking forward to it. Let me know what you guys think. Put your comments below. Feel free to comment on anything that I've said in this video. Feel free to share your own original thoughts with regards to this topic. Like and share and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will catch you guys on the next one.